Disgusted is the word that Glover Quinn used describing his thoughts on the Lions' first game of the season. But now, as we set you up for week 2 on Bleav in Lions, brought to you by FanDuel, Glover, I'd say the entire Chicago Bears fan base might use that exact same word, disgusted, and some more colorful language surrounding that when they look at their Bears performance, giving up what looked to be a victory, and then the jaws of defeat is where they ended up falling by the end of their game 1 against the Vikings at home on Monday night. Let's break it all down as we look to game number 2 between those two teams. One of those teams will get their first win of the season. Both will enter game 2 0-1. Ben Johnson facing his former team and his good friend Dan Campbell. Your thoughts as we come into week 2 between the Bears and the Lions, and who might get the best of this, and how motivated guys are going to be playing for their respective coaches in this matchup.
I mean, well, you said somebody's going to get their first win, but looking at how both teams played in week 1, this thing could end up in a tie. It literally could end up in a tie. I mean, let's hope that the Lions come out on the top, but the way they played. But I mean, going back to what you said, Ben Johnson coming back to Ford Field, that's going to be, it's always fun when you're playing against somebody that, whether it's an old teammate that you got history with, that was with the organization for a while, another coach. It's always fun. And so that right there, along with it being the Lions' first home game, along with it being homecoming for the Lions as well, hopefully the Lions have some more energy. Hopefully they took a hard look at themselves from game 1, and they show up with some energy. Hopefully they looked at the Monday night game and saw that the Bears, they came out on fire. They came out smoking. So they have some talent. They're going to look in the mirror and say, hey guys, we had that game won for 3 quarters. We just got to figure out a way to hold on to it. You know what I'm saying? So, Ben's going to be excited to be back. He's going to want to, give the Lions fans, what they're used to seeing from him. So hopefully our coordinator shows up and he wants to give Ben Johnson a little bit of what, he has. And, we can have, some fireworks from that standpoint. And, we always talk about players making the biggest jumps from year 1 to year 2. A lot of that has to do also with, it can be said with teams as well, going from week 1 to week 2, getting that first game under your belt, going back, looking at it, seeing what needs to be cleaned up, and then taking that to the practice field and coming into week 2, understanding the intensity of the game, understanding the importance of situational football, and how little plays make big differences. And so hopefully, both teams can come back and be better. Just hopefully the Lions being at home, not want to go down 0-2 to start this season. I think with Baltimore coming up next week, hopefully the Lions come out fired up, ready to go, and we can let our blood pressure down a little bit.
I was watching the Bears last night, and I saw a lot in the Bears similar to what I saw in the Lions. Confusion, miscommunication on their offensive line. They took 4 false starts. They 12 penalties for over 125 yards in penalties for the Bears. Just a lot of confusion around the field. A lot of things, guys looking at each other, wondering what they're going to do next, and maybe some confusion on the sidelines with coaches and their personnel. And we saw some of that with the Lions as well. How long does it take, in your opinion, to iron some of that out, especially as important as it is in the trenches on the offensive and defensive lines, to iron those things out early in the season? How long do you think this is going to shake out for both sides?
I mean, I think it takes a few weeks, man. It takes a few games because, these guys don't play in the preseason anymore. And I really do feel like that has a lot to do with it. Playing in practice, there's a comfort level in practice. There's you get insight in practice from, the coaches of what's going to happen in the game. I mean, in practice, what to expect. The guys that you're going against, you understand them. So that aspect of it is kind of taken out, and you can kind of just focus on, making the right calls in practice. But it's totally different when you get in the games. And that's why I feel like preseason games are very important, especially when you have units that have to work together. And I say that from an offensive line standpoint. I say that from a defensive line standpoint. I say that from a secondary standpoint. When you have to communicate and work as a group, wide receivers and quarterbacks, they work more off timing. So yeah, they might want to get some in-game reps to get the timing right. But I wouldn't say they're individuals, but they're kind of like it. The quarterback is functioning and the wide receiver is functioning.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay. When you have to work together as a group, the left tackle, the right tackle, the left guard, the right guard, and the center all have to be on the same exact page. And if you're not, it's a struggle. And so when you get into real games, and now coaches are making calls off the hip, off the situation, in practice, you may have a full period that's third downs. So you understand third downs. You may have a full period that's first down, second down, play action pass, run period. And so you understand what every period is going to be, so you can set yourself up mentally for that. Mm-hmm. In the game, you don't know. You can go from first down back to first down to second and long to third, and like it changes so quickly. So the personnel changes. You go from first down to second down to third and short. We're going into big personnel. They bringing in the big guys. Then you go right. Like, it's so much going on, and being able to communicate through each situation is difficult sometimes when you're not with a group that has that continuity of working together. So I think it takes a couple more weeks for these O-line units to get it all out and greased up, from both sides, Chicago as well. And, Chicago has new coordinators and coaches. We have new coordinators. So that's what you're seeing with the miscommunication and all these different things. And you got to understand, each and every week, they're putting in different game plans because every defense is different. When you're in practice, you're going against your same defense, so you kind of understand their defense. They just had to prepare for Green Bay and Micah Parsons and the D-line. Now they got to prepare for Chicago. It's a totally different D-line. They probably have a totally different scheme, different things. So now you got to learn something totally different. So games are tough. Games are tough. And we'll see who makes the biggest leap from week 1 to week 2, and that'll be who win the game.
It's going to be tough, too, to really assess what you saw from the Bears yesterday. They were up 17-6 going into the fourth quarter. J.J. McCarthy, making his first start in the NFL, looked out of his element. And then the next thing you know, you look up, and the Vikings have scored 21 unanswered points, taken a lead, and then close this thing out and get themselves a win. But it's really hard to really assess what the Bears were up against. They got a lead, they blow it, and they blow it against a rookie QB. Did the QB step up? Was it suddenly the defense? Caleb Williams couldn't hit the broadside of a barn after starting 10 for 10. He ended up with a horrible passer rating and accuracy rate. I don't know really how you assess what you see from a team like that gives up a lead like that at home in week 1, going up against a rookie quarterback. How do you assess it? How would the Lions assess it? How do they break down what they're watching on film?
Well, I think the Lions have to look at it from the standpoint that they were up. They can't look at it as, they blew the lead. They have to look at it from the standpoint as Chicago came out. Caleb Williams was 10 for 10. They were playing well. They were up 17-6. That's their capability.
Okay.
So that's what they're going to be going into the week saying, hey, guys, we were here for 3 quarters. What happened in the fourth quarter that caused us to drop our guard? Did we do something different with the play caller? Did Caleb try to do too much? What really happened to make us drop our guard? Because we saw how we could play offensively and defensively. You up 17-6. That means you're holding them to 0 touchdowns, and we're scoring points, right? So they're going to go into the week a little more disgusted just because they lost it in the fourth quarter, and they were there. The Lions, on the other hand, never was in it. They were never there. And so Chicago is going to feel like, hey man, we done some good things. We done some good things. We just got to finish the game. And the Lions, on the other hand, they got to find it so that they can do some good things. And I trust that the Lions will come out at home and have some energy and be ready to go. But you got to know that Ben's going to be, he knows those guys. He's going to try to have his guys ready. But we know Ben, so we should be ready for those guys as well. So at the end of the day, it's going to be about who comes out and who can control the line of scrimmage. Can our O-line get some movement on their D-line to where we can run the ball and set up things in our passing game? And can we stop them from running around? Can we get pressure on Caleb Williams? Because we see he likes to run around. He likes to do all this stuff. He's a loosey guy out there. So, can we get some pressure on him? Or are we going to allow him to run around and control and dictate the game by getting first downs and keeping the chains moving? So it's going to be a lot to be said. Are we going to pressure Caleb Williams and force him to get rid of the ball quickly? Or are we going to, sit back and play coverage or, play fire zones and drop our defensive? Like, what are we going to do? And so, like I say, making the adjustments from week 1 to week 2 is big in the NFL, and both teams have some adjusting to do. Let's hope the Lions adjust better.
Interested in your take on this because after putting up the 17 points, the Bears offense did struggle. The Lions offense obviously struggled. When I looked at FanDuel to see what the over-under on this game was, 47.5 points. So you're looking for more than 3 touchdowns for each team in this one to get to that number. And both offenses, like I said, showed their struggles in week 1. What are your thoughts on that number? And the Lions were 1 for 4 in the red zone. They were moving the chains. They got to the red zone and then faltered. They obviously have to punch them in. Can you turn that around and get that offense going in 1 week, or where do you see that number 47.5 lying with 2 teams with struggling offenses in the first week?
That's a high number,
Looks like a big number to you right now.
Yeah, that's a big number to me right now because, man, I might have to go with the under. But you say the Lions were 1 for 4 in the red zone. You're going to struggle in the red zone if you can't run the ball. It's hard to pass the ball when you get deeper and deeper and deeper into the red zone. So if you can't run the ball, it's going to be very difficult. If you look at last year, the Lions were probably pretty efficient in the red zone, but they could run the ball. They could hand it off to David Montgomery. They could hand it off to Jahmyr Gibbs, and they could run the ball, and then that opens up easy passes to tight ends and Amon-Ra St. Brown and play action and different things like that. So if you can't run the ball, then it's going to be very difficult to score in the red zone. And so 47 points from what we saw this weekend, maybe FanDuel will know, hey, Ben Johnson's coming back. He's going to have some fireworks. John Morton's going to be excited to call against Ben Johnson. So he's going to bring out the fireworks, and we're going to get a fireworks show in week 2 in Ford Field. And so we're going to score more than 47 points. I don't know if I'm feeling that way right now, FanDuel. So I'm going to take the under. I'm going to take the under right now. And, maybe by Sunday, I might be feeling like, you know what? Bump it. Let's go have a fireworks show, and let's take the over.
I was listening to some of the post-game sound from Aiden Hutchinson just talking about the pass rush and what they're going to need to do. And then to your point about Caleb Williams, he was running around last night. He ran for 58 yards, ran himself into some trouble at times too when the pocket collapsed and really had nowhere to go. But Aiden just talking about the pass rush and the need to really have some opportunities in week 2 to get at the quarterback and how they might change things up there. Your thoughts on the defensive line, not just Aiden, but all the way across the line, what you thought there and what adjustments they can make to get to a guy who's got some legs, who's got an arm, he showed some accuracy early on and then things faltered for their offense. But a guy like Caleb Williams, how you get to him with that defensive line?
Well, we got to find somebody else to create some pressure. Aiden is coming back. Obviously he's excited. He's been looking good, but it just takes a little time to get out there and have your legs ready to go and to get over the injury. Like we underestimate what it takes to mentally get over a horrific injury. just the
Walk us through that.
trust.
Tell me about
That
that. Like,
I mean,
we talked a
it's
bit about
different.
that being the toughest thing to get over is the mental thing. Talk about that. You've
You
been
know,
there.
it's so difficult. I remember in 2013 when I first signed with Detroit. You know, I got off to an amazing start. I had an interception in week 1. I had like a fumble recovery, I think, in week 2. I came back against Chicago week 4, had another interception. And in that game in week 4, I literally tore my ankle up. I tore 2 ligaments in my ankle. I had bone bruising, like probably shouldn't have been playing. And I played the rest of the season on that bum ankle. And
How?
it hindered. I mean, it was just the grace of God, a lot of treatment around the clock. I mean, and I just love to play. And the reason why I was able to do it because, week 5, we were playing against Green Bay in Lambeau Field. And as a kid, I've always wanted to play at Lambeau Field. And so my first time getting the opportunity to play in Lambeau Field, I couldn't sit on the sideline. So I was going to do everything I could to be able to play. And so that's what I did. And then once I played that first game, it was like, all right, just keep, treating it, right? But then after the season, I had surgery. I had surgery on it. And going through the off season, trying to recover, trying to get the flexibility back in it, trying to get the strength back in it to feel confident and pushing off of it and planting off of it. Because you've had so many months of pain, right? And then you dealing with the surgery, just trying to recover and get back to who you were. It's a process. And we had just got Coach Caldwell that year, so he didn't let me go through OTAs in the spring, so I didn't get any of those reps. And then you just kind of training and hoping, and so training camp comes around, and you're nervous, because I mean you just had a major injury. You know what I'm saying? And that was ligaments, and that was things in my ankle. I could only imagine like bone breaking like that. I remember when I was in JUCO, I broke my arm. And I broke my arm in the 3rd quarter, and I finished the game, right? And I'm out there hurting. I'm just like, guys, I can't hardly move my arm, right? I don't know how I finished the game. I thought it was a bruise, but it was broken, right? It was freaking broke. So I had to have surgery, right? So I come back in the spring, and I got this big cast on my arm, a big wrap on it because, I'm nervous. You know what I'm saying? My arm hurts. You know what I'm saying? It got plates and screws in it. And we start spring practice, and I'm going outside with a big wrap on my arm. And, it just so happened that one day I went to practice and I forgot to put the wrap on. And I didn't even know I didn't have it on until I came back in after practice, and I was getting undressed, and I was like, oh, I didn't have my wrap on today. You know what I'm saying? And at that point, it was like, oh, okay, well, then
Now you're good to
I
go.
don't need. So it'll take something like that, right? He's gonna be a little nervous at first, and then he'll get a hit or he'll do something. He'll feel like, okay, I'm all right. Like, and then he'll slowly get his confidence back. But, when you're playing D lineman and you're having to push against these big O linemen, these guys are big, they're strong, they're heavy, and you got to put that pressure on that leg. Like, it's just different in games. And so I think he'll get there, but he's going to have to get some help from those other guys. He's going to have to get some pass rush from the guys, on the other side. You got to get some push from the guys up the middle to flush the quarterback out of the pocket. And so it's a whole group effort on that defensive line. And if they can't do it just from the D-line standpoint, the D coordinator, Kevin Shepard, he's going to have to dial up some type of pressures to be able to get some pressure on Caleb to try and disrupt him, because otherwise, I don't know if we want to just give him all the time in the world. I mean, he's a talented guy. He can make throws. He can do things with his legs. So I think you may have to force the issue with this guy.
That would be interesting, but in order to do that, the entire defense, not just the defensive line, is going to have to step up and take their game to another level. Is there anybody specifically that you think can help in that realm? Any veteran leaders who need to step up and assert themselves in week 2, especially at home?
Yeah, I mean, I the strength of the team, from what I've heard, has been the secondary. They got a lot of veteran guys: Kirby Joseph, Brian Branch, Amik, DJ Reed. Like, those guys are gonna have to step up on the back end, um, and hold up their end of the bargain so that Shep can do some things on the front end with the linebackers, with the D line, to create some pressure and do things like that. Those guys are gonna have to cover, and so if they can cover, and that frees up guys on the inside. But we got to get, Anzalone had an opportunity to make a big play. He dropped that interception. Those are plays that you have to make. You just have to. Those are big plays. And like I said, I didn't really see any impact plays in that game. That would have been a big play in a big moment that could have turned it, right? And so you got to get some plays from your linebacker, some plays that set the tone. You know what I'm saying? That set the tone. And I don't know what it is, but I remember in the preseason watching this kid, and I don't even know what his name is, but he was number 15 in the preseason. He was a linebacker, and he was literally just coming downhill, running fast. And I think he made the team. Put that guy in, man. Let him come down here and just some Barnes and guys, you're the linebackers. You have to come down here and set the tone. And you have to do it early in the game, right? Early in the game. I remember, and I bring up these stories because this stuff has happened. I've seen this stuff firsthand. I remember when I was young playing, and I was playing for the Texans, right? This was probably my 3rd year. And I was playing next to a guy named Brian Cushing. And, we all know Brian Cushing. Brian Cushing was, he's a monster. He's a crazy individual on the football field. The first play of the game, it didn't matter what the coach called. Cush was blitzing. It didn't matter if he called a deep third zone for Cushing. He was running through the A gap the first play of the game because he knew it's either going to be a run, it's going to be a play action pass, and I'm going to put pressure on somebody. If it's a run, I'm already going downhill. If it's a play action pass, hey, coach, I thought it was run, so I'm just going. We knew that. So the coach eventually started just calling blitzes for him on the first play of the game because he was going anyway. But that's what you got to do. Somebody got to go set the tone the first play of the game, early in the game, and let them know that this is the type of game it's going to be. This is what it's going to be. And if it's a screw up, it's okay. You still got 4 quarters to fix it. You got 4 quarters to fix it, but you can't let those guys get comfortable and sit down and drink lemonade and have a great time.
You're off the apple juice. You're drinking apple juice. Back to the lemonade.
No, go set the tone, man. I've always felt like first play of the game, I'm going all out blitz, bump it. It's either going to be a run or a play action. We going all out blitz, bump it, throw the ball right now, and we'll see what's going to happen. That's the way I've always felt. I'm setting the tone. I'm a tone setter, though. That's what I like to do. I don't like to play on other people's terms. No, you're going to play on my terms.
Grant Stewart is who you were talking about, number 15. He did make the team. So you want to see some action. Let him in. Hey, Put me in, coach. Let's go. Fire me up.
But he could do it on special teams. Run down.
Right. Make a play.
Smack somebody, man.
Get your hat in there. Make a play.
Go smack somebody, man. Yeah, but I did see that kid. He stuck out in the preseason.
Well, he's on there. We'll look for him here in week 2 against the Bears. Now, after our week 1 review, we talked about the line on this game with FanDuel. The Lions giving 4.5. You thought that might change after week 1 last night. It did not change. Lions still giving 4.5 points in this one. You were looking for energy. You didn't feel the energy. You didn't feel it in week 1. They're at home. How many points is that crowd inside Ford Field Worth? You've played there. You know the energy that building can provide. You've rode that wave of emotion. 4.5, it's a pretty tight ball game right there. How much can the home crowd make a difference in providing energy and making it hard on the Bears? And what kind of a difference can that make as far as the point spread goes and helping the Lions come away 1-1 after week 2?
I mean, the crowd does have an impact. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. And Ford Field fans are amazing. Those guys are incredible. And they're going to be excited. They're going to be excited. But I think this is what the players have to understand as well. The whole offseason, we've all talked about the questions that the Lions have, right? We've all talked about the questions, the coordinator, the this, the that. And then we saw how the season ended last year in Ford Field versus the Commanders. So this is what we have to understand, guys. The fans, when we question, it makes fans question, right? When we're confident, the fans are confident. So going into the season, it's like you're confident because of the history, right? You feel like it's going to be a certain way because of the history, but you're still a little worried because we're questioning. So then when you come out and play like that, now you basically answer those questions that we had. So now in our head, it's like, oh, we were worried about this, and they really looked like that. So now we get the home game. The fans are going to be excited.
Yeah, they are.
Right? But the players are going to have to match that. Because if they come out in the first half and look like they looked last week, then the fans are going to believe that's who they are. And they're just not the same. You see what I'm saying? But if they come out playing well, the fans are going to feel, okay, we can help this. We can affect this. They're playing with energy. We're going to bring our energy, and we're going to help will our team to a victory. But if they come out with a lack of energy, lethargic, and all that stuff, the fans are going to feel like this is who they are this year. They got new coordinators, and they take a step back, and it's going to be a long season. And that right there might affect the energy of the fans. But I love Ford Field fans. I think they're going to show up. They're going to be ready to go. The players are going to have to come out on the field and match the energy of the fans and get up to a good start.
Ben Johnson leading that offense last year, 29 points per game. They only put up 13 and barely 13 in week 1. How do you think John Morton approaches this? You think he's going to be challenged by knowing Ben Johnson's on the other side and open things up and try and show a little more flair? He's going to be conservative. Is Ben Johnson going to try and ramp things up and show Lions fans what they're missing? How do you think that's going to play out as far as the offenses go? Because that's really what the story is going to be coming into this one in week 2.
I definitely think we're going to see all of that. I think we're going to see Ben bring some stuff out to coming back to Ford Field and wanting to put on the show. And I think John's going to look at the film and he's going to want to, all these guys are competitors, guys. We're all competitors. So they may not say it. They're not going to say it publicly, but I guarantee you Ben's at home with his family. He's talking to his homeboys about how he's going to come back and light the Lions up. I guarantee you that. And I'm pretty sure John is going to say the same thing to his homeboys, like, bro, I want to put up whatever, because we're all competitors. We love each other. We're cool. We work together. We do all those things. But at the end of the day, when we come back and have coffee together at the combine, I want to be able to sit there and, smirk a little bit.
Yeah.
How you doing?
Little bragging rights.
Right. Like, how you feeling? Y'all good? Okay, cool. You know what I'm saying? So, yes, the Lions are going to want to come out. John's going to want to come out and call a great game to show, hey, Lions fans, no need to worry. I got us. And Ben's going to want to come out and say, hey, Lions fans, you remember me?
Miss me?
You remember me?
So it's going to be this for me.
So that's probably why FanDuel got us at plus 47, because they think it's going to be a fireworks show.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, hey, I like to sit back and watch fireworks shows. So I will be
tuned in. I'm here for that. However it shakes out, Glover Quinn and I will be back to break it down for you after week 2, Lions and Bears at Ford Field. and you'll see the results and hear about the results here on Bleav in Lions, brought to you by FanDuel. We'll see you then.